And welcome to all of you to another DigiDrive Lunch and Learn session. A warm welcome, whether you're joining us live or on replay. Can I begin by thanking all of you for your attendance and also my colleagues at the Digital Drive Durham program for all their efforts behind the scenes to organize this great session. My name is Pascal Fintoni. I have the immense privilege and pleasure of leading on the training and skills development of the program. Some of you will know that the program has other elements beyond the training side. We also offer one-to-one kind of mentoring with some of our digital advisors. You can have access to the free online health check, as well as access to the funding scheme. For my part, I tend to get involved primarily in the program and schedule of training sessions, from webinars to meetups to masterclass and co-working days. And today, it gives me great pleasure to talk to you about video marketing and YouTube. So to begin with, this is a training session, so do have pen and paper ready. You can watch, of course, the session on replay, and feel free to take some screenshots of some of the slides that I'll be using. A couple of people I want to thank before we begin, of course, the team, Paul, Kirsty, Samantha, and Paul, the other Paul as well, part of the DigiDrive team. I want to thank Business Durham for their continued support, and We Are Umi for hosting this session. We are currently in their recording studio. This session is pretty much looking at video marketing, YouTube and live, and what you'll find is these are pretty much extract from some of the full day sessions that we deliver as part of the program. That is very much what I wanted to explain to you, which is that the aim of today's session is for you to take action, practical actions, but we're looking at primarily using your mobile phone and laptop as a video producer. There's a limit to what we can hope to achieve in video marketing, and certainly there should be little aspiration or confusion. Today is not about becoming a professional video producer or launching a video business. It's more about this idea of we are already active as marketers in terms of promoting our business through website management, social media, SEO, email marketing, and more. And the question I have for you today, which we're going to unpick and answer for ourselves, is can video make your marketing work harder for you? Bear in mind that you're already active doing something. So before we kind of begin with the session, I always like to make it really relevant and personal to you. So using the chat area, and making sure that you select all panelists and attendees, can you give me quickly the details of who you are, the business that you run or the services that you offer, and in the spirit of networking, can you also share your website address? If you could do that maybe for a couple of minutes in the chat area, I will get to know a bit more about who is with us today, but also you'll be able to network with each other, and I'll find throughout the session some examples that would be relevant to you. So I'll give you a moment to use the chat box and tell us a bit more about who you are, what you do, and share your website address as well. Thank you very much. So good to see you again, Sal. So Quality Garden Transformations. We've got, oh, that's going fast. Ian, manufactured curry sauce in pouches. Spicymonkey.co.uk. We've got Moira. Hi, good to see you again. The Moira Barnes Sales Consultancy. Yes, thank you very much. We've got Imran. Ooh, I've got a little speech bubble. Here we go. From northeastit.co.uk. Natalie Paris. Oh, hi. The Geordie French storyteller. Excellent. Teacher in primary schools. I hope things are going well. It's been a while since we've spoken to each other. Got Harding selling telephone systems. Aspectvoice.co.uk. Just starting my own social media management business. Welcome to the world of self-employment, Naomi. Make sure you speak to the team as part of this program. No website yet. Plenty of time to get it sorted. We've got Curtis. Thank you very much for being back. Diane Nicholson. Oh, just missed it. Wedding and event decorator. Neatly seated. Good to see Ty again. Digital marketing, business administration. Adapt Dev Limited. B, double E, B social media, my business for Naomi. Yes, Chateau Beaumont language trip and summer's camp to France. A lot of French influence today, Kirsty. This is interesting, isn't it? Truly international session. Singing Heen from Hannah, professional musician, vocal coach. And we've got Caroline with a retail website selling handmade gifts to appeal to people interested in the heritage and steam train in particular. Good check with us again. Alistair, digital and agile transformation consultancy training provider, just launching his YouTube channel. Excellent. I think that might be everybody. So thank you very much, because that's given me lots of ideas to kind of talk to you about. So if you allow me then, let's get into the session itself. Remember that at any time, write your questions in the chat box. Kirsty will be keeping track of it, and from time to time, I will be looking at them myself. So we are still looking at a very interactive and a lot of participation today with regard to helping each other relaunch or launch our video marketing activities for 2020. So please understand that what I can do today is give you blueprints and systems and steps, but the contribution, the ideas from you today is also going to be a big part of how we're going to unlock what is perhaps holding us back when it comes to video. So what I have in mind is to start with a quick overview, which will come to kind of its natural close very soon. Then I want to kind of go into the presentation mode and explain to you how to look at video marketing a bit differently, perhaps. But more importantly, I want to talk about the approach. And this is really born out of my work with my clients, small business owners and team leaders, whereby marketing is a challenge, digital marketing is a challenge, on top of which we have a layer of complexity when it comes to video. How do we break through these challenges and see where that takes us? And then we'll have the open Q&A, as I mentioned a moment ago. Please understand, this is a very practical session. We do look forward to seeing then the results of your handiwork. But before I move forward, can you let me know whether or not you are already using video content as part of your activities? So it's going to be a yes or a no, or nearly there, perhaps, if you are just about to on the cusp of starting. But are you already using video content as part of your marketing and sales strategy? Is it a yes or is it a no? It could be that you are quite in advanced stage of planning, in which case then you can let me know about that as well. Nearly there. Thank you very much, Caroline. Thanks, Ian. We've got a yes from Moira. Well done. Natalie, Alistair. Hannah's doing some video for ferret boarding. Interesting. Understood, Curtis, about, yep, sometime, that's how we begin. We use video content for personal reasons through social media. We learn actually our craft, and then we can migrate that to the business. So my aspiration really again today is not to transform you into an award-winning filmmaker, because that's my dream. And as you'll see in a moment, I'd be very upset if you do that before me. But this idea of, within reason, using the tools of the time and our passion for what we do, is that a way we can communicate to build our business, but also make video creation something that brings a level of enjoyment into the day-to-day as well, which is very, very interesting. Okay, so this session is part of the kind of long-standing theme of Content Creators Unite. Some of you will know that as part of DigiDrive, we launched this kind of subcategory, if you will, of our work together to make sure that as a region, as a community, we are, as you'll see in a moment, the most supportive and creative business community out there in the UK. Because we understand that content creation and the publication of content is probably the #1 challenge when it comes to using the web to grow our businesses. So memory is failing me, Kirsty. I don't remember when exactly we launched it, but I'm going to say it was 2018, but I could be completely wrong. But I remember because I was looking to my phone, which has far too many photography, like many of us. And this was essentially at the time that the founding members of the Content Creators Unite. And this was at the end of the day when we actually practiced the power pose, power stance. I can tell some of the men were not putting everything on there. They didn't participate as willingly as others, but this idea of building confidence. But more importantly, the message here was, it is far too important to try and work it out on your own. And many of you have heard me say this before, but content creation, whether it's writing for the web, whether it's photography, animations, and video, far too important to try and do it on your own with just your phone, just your laptop. It has to be supported by a community of content creators. So do take part in the many sessions we have, the meetups and so on, and share with us your own kind of trials and tribulations of being a content creator. Now, moving on swiftly, I'm always delighted to talk about the subject of video because it is obviously a passion of mine. But I must confess to you, it was never my plan to really bring video to be as important as it is today. My profession as a digital marketer and content marketer was to really look at strategies and tactics to build your business on the web. And yes, evenings and weekends, if you will, I was very busy as a filmmaker and content creator. And it was my attempt for quite some time to keep those two things separate. But of course, the internet, broadband, and the behavior of consumers in general have conspired. And I'm able to bring, if you like, the lessons of the filmmaking and video production industry to the world of marketing and sales. So what you'll see is a lot of reference to those techniques, if you will, in terms of storytelling and film production at our level using mobile phones and laptop. And I just realized there, when that shot was taken, I'm probably making the perfect impression of a teapot as well, which is kind of interesting. So profession and passion, I'm very lucky I'm able to kind of answer those questions for you. In terms of the progress is that it makes sense that if we want to be better, smarter video creators, we need to pay attention to an industry who's been producing content that have engaged for quite some time. But again, I kind of took my time before declaring that I knew as much as I do with video production and the likes. But a couple of things happened. To begin with, I was very surprised to see, for example, on my TV, this is a screenshot of my TV, there was so much apps and applications and the likes that are more in line with the world of business than entertainment. I thought I was quite surprised. And of course, you know, many of us, I would assume, please do correct me, I've been using mobile phones, which primarily were designed for communication and business, to use to consume entertainment. I want to ask you what your favorite series is, but I would assume that many of you have been catching up if you're traveling and the likes through your mobile phone. So there's a merger and kind of blurring of boundaries. For me, the deciding factor in terms of why I began to talk about video marketing and production more was 2015, when Facebook announced that really, whilst there was a lot of video content being produced online, the only videos that would really make the grade, if you will, and would be shared and shown to your network would be videos where there would be interaction. What I mean by interaction, whether someone would turn the sound on or would actually stop the scrolling and watch it, maybe even go full screen and so on and so forth. So it made me realize that if you really want someone to stop their kind of consumption on social media, you better be creating a video that is truly engaging. And to engage, you have to start to think about structure and story. And then I was able to explain that from, again, a filmmaking point of view. The next thing was starting to share my knowledge through this session, which was at the time a quick 1-hour session around the UK at networking events and conferences called Video Killed the Social Media Star. And of course, if you are under the age of 30, you'll have no idea what that is. Also, you will have no idea what this picture is, which is a picture of a record, which was quite amusing. So I started with that, and then the 1 hour grew to half a day, then a day, then 2 days, and so on. And it can grow from there. Of course, I began talking about live video, and then we spoke about essentially how to perform on camera and how to structure your sessions and so on, how to engage with an audience. And all this really is getting us ready as businesses for the next evolution of video, which would be around virtual reality and augmented reality. We're not there yet. I think there's been many promises made by many kind of manufacturers. I think we're probably another 2-3 years away from that, but that would be the evolution of the way in which your audience will consume the information. And I think it's wise, therefore, to begin now to understand how to create video messages before this becomes the new normal. So the next thing that I wanted to show, and this is just a visual for visual impact, don't feel that you have to read all those headlines, but more importantly, it was the way in which people started to do video was usually to do some very short, succinct time messages. But actually, I, through my own research and findings, realized that the long form video was making a big comeback. It was also an important part of someone's strategy. So what we need to be looking at, all of us today, is the whole range from a few seconds on social media up to several hours on YouTube, and how do we make it work for our different businesses. For me, the kind of comedy, the research I've been paying attention to a lot is the research from Ofcom about the behavior of the UK population when it comes to consuming video. And the signs are very, very clear. This has now become the favored content format for people, whether they are in business or in their personal life. That's not to say we should forego the written form and static images, but I think that if we're not careful and wait a little too long, we might be missing a chance to actually stand out from the crowd when it comes to engaging your audience. The numbers, you can Google them in terms of billions of views on YouTube and the conversion rates increasing on websites and so on. I'm less concerned about numbers. I'm more looking at something else, which is essentially what we're going to do about it as small businesses. So what we're looking at really is this strange relationship with you, a video creator, in the middle between your website, your social media, and YouTube. So just for me, actually, and for Kirsty as well, can you go back into the chat area and can you list for me the social media accounts that you are currently using to grow and market your business? So what have you got at the moment in terms of account used for business, usually the most famous brands? If you could just write them down for me in the chat area, that would be very useful, so we can also give some examples about how to use LinkedIn compared to Instagram or compared to Facebook. Thank you. We've got Natalie, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Thank you. Moira, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, and Twitter. You can tell Moira is of a tender age because she said Insta, not Instagram. It's all going fast. I'm reading them though. I won't read them out, but I'm seeing everybody putting their things. Yes, Sal, not quite a hang of it of LinkedIn, perhaps. Be patient and by all means keep an eye out, because we might actually do some sessions on LinkedIn itself. Great. That helps me a lot. Thank you very much for that. So what we're going to do then is, that's the platform you have to use. But for me, what is more interesting is about your audience and the people, because if we understand a bit more about behavior, then you'll be able to use the tools of the time even better and have greater results. So my role today is to explain what we understand today about video marketing and its impact, invite you to reflect on your version of approaching video marketing, and of course from today, with some reflection, making decisions on what you're going to do when to introduce video as part of your business, or to even improve on what you're doing already currently. Okay, so let me begin with, because I think it's important, with three key principles that have informed our approach to teaching video marketing as part of the program, but in fairness, pretty much all my consultancy time as well with my clients. So three key principles I'd like you to write down, if you don't mind, because they're going to really drive the explanation I'm going to give you, and hopefully give you some reassurance about how to approach video marketing. So principle number one, it is my view that we should approach videos to make sure that they make what you do already work harder. So video should not be a brand new activity out of context. What it should be is the fact that you are already active in terms of marketing and sales through social media, through your website, through networking, all those wonderful things. And we're just going to pause for a moment to ask ourselves the questions: would on this occasion a video message or video bit of content will make that activity work harder? So I'll come back to this, but that's a really important principle. Next principle: we are at our best in conversation mode. Now, what that means is that it is always my preference and my recommendation that the kind of video that you should be creating are not monologues. You should actually find a way to share your advice or capture, your passion, and produce the content in conversation mode. Again, I will come back to that, but that hopefully reassures you that the intention should not be to grab a camera, talk to it, talk to yourself, and then publish that on the internet, we find that actually in conversation tend to have a greater impact and give you better results. It is also far more enjoyable to produce. Third and final principle, always go for the simplest video and the most useful content. Let's be very clear that in video marketing, this is not a competition for the most complex production or the most expensive form of content. If that was the case, that would tell you. We know now that if you go about it in the simplest possible way, but you put all the effort in being useful to your audience, you're going to get better return on effort. I've seen no evidence through all form of marketing, by the way, that the more time and money you put into it, the more return you get. Eventually, it just plateaus. So the simplest video, but the most useful content, which is why with confidence we can talk about using our phones and our laptops, not necessarily very expensive gear. So having to share those principles with you, which are going to inform what we're going to talk about today, I want to talk to you about, for me, the number one reason why video should be of interest. Again, you can read the stats, you can read the reports and so on. But what I find is that the reason why you're going to grow your business, the reason why someone's going to choose you is because based on the information that they've gathered, whether they've read it, watched it, listened to it, they believe that you can be trusted, that they can project into the future. And for them, getting in touch with you or spending time with you will not be a waste of their time, will not be risky, because so far, based on what they've seen, heard, and read, you can be deemed to be a trusted proposition in a very noisy, busy marketplace. And trust is vastly important for all of us. We have reached a point where somebody will form an opinion about you and your business without even talking to you based on what they can gather from the web. So I use video to actually accelerate trust and build trust. And I take the view that to be seen and heard being helpful is nowadays the quickest way to build trust. And video gives you that format, to be seen and heard being helpful. And there's a big difference here. We don't talking about to be seen and heard being competent, or to be seen and heard being knowledgeable, to be seen and heard being helpful. And that's something that I'm going to use several times through this presentation. So on the basis that trust is important, we want to build trust, video might play a part in that equation. So we talk about steps and we talked about systems a lot with my clients, and I've come up with the three B's, as in the verb to be. The first thing I want to look at is how we're going to build our confidence, your confidence, in terms of creating video content and indeed publishing it, which is also something that we need to be looking at. The second thing we'll be looking at is how do you build your audience, because it's actually the real challenge here, isn't it? I mean, we could eventually learn, or we need to learn to create that video content and then get it published. But if nobody's watching it, if nobody's reacting to it, we have wasted a lot of time and energy. And it's quite actually disconcerting to spend all that time and not get a reaction. So that's a very important second step. And then we're in a position to build the brand or the business, whichever term you kind of favor. So these are the steps. And in a way, you need to kind of be a little patient with yourself, potentially, or patient with the pace and momentum that you can kind of apply to this, because it is what you'll have to do. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with the very first module, if you will, of this online session, which is to embrace your journey as a video marketer, going through the steps of building your confidence, your audience, and your brand. So this is actually taken from the segment from the YouTube training day, actually. And there's one that always gets people smiling, thinking, actually, that's something that I thought about, but I didn't know you could do it so quickly. So can I ask in this room a quick question, which came actually from the Ofcom report. The Ofcom report would suggest that in the UK, people are now spending more time watching videos than they were 2 years ago. The number is vastly greater. So if you answer yes, maybe, or no in the chat area, do you think that in the last 2 years, you yourself have been watching more videos via your mobile phones, your laptop, and indeed your TV than before? Is your consumption gone up by any chance? So we've got a yes, definitely, from Sal. A lot of yeses. So Martin has remained the same. which is perhaps you've peaked maybe 2 years ago. I've got a yes from Pardin. More over the last 2 years from Ty as well. I've got a yes from Anna. And that would make sense. I mean, that's a yes for me. I'm looking at my colleague Kirsty. That's a yes from, I'm assuming that's a yes for me as well. Curtis, 100% YouTube is the most viewed platform for me as well. So we are, on trend as far as, and we've helped, the stats going up. So let me put that to you then. If you are watching videos potentially on YouTube or the main platform, from time to time, I would like to think you're coming across some useful videos, not just for you, but for others. And therefore, the quick question I have for you today is, would it be helpful, because we're here to build a brand by being seen and heard, being helpful, would it be helpful to point out those useful videos to your customers, to your network, to your prospects, and so on? I know that the answer would be yes. And sometimes that's as simple as that, which is we forget that some of the stuff that we consume for our own professional and personal development is shareable and can begin this journey of making video the new normal for you. So number one question, would it be helpful to point out useful videos to them? I would think, yeah, particularly if you're watching more over the last 2 years. Then the next question, which is how we begin our journey as a video marketer, would it be a smart thing to do to actually save those great videos that you share from time to time into your own YouTube channel? And the process, therefore, beginning your journey by being almost, if you will, a librarian, the custodian of the best video content that you've come across, that you've checked, so that when you share it today, if a month later you have a conversation with another prospect, you can say, well, actually, tell you what, on my YouTube channel, I saved some great video on that very point, which we just discussed. I'll send the link tomorrow. Or indeed as part of your social media activities, where you could do from time to time and say, hi gang, it's been a very busy month. I've come across some useful videos on the subject of fill the blank, and here's a link for you to check it out. So you're becoming useful and helpful without necessarily having yet produced any video content, but you've taken the trouble to curate and actually kind of save people an enormous amount of time. So this is how you're going to begin your journey, by doing what I call video curation. Very important step, and actually you'll find it to be very rewarding for you. The next step is going to be that you're going to contribute to someone else's video effort. You're going to collaborate, if you will, and in the process, build your confidence and build your audience. And then you'll be in a position to become a video creator. Video curation, contribution, and creation are the three stages of becoming the future video marketer. Now, some of you are already in video creation with all the kind of joy and sometimes disappointment that comes with it. And it may well be therefore that you can add some of the earlier steps to supplement and make it a more rounded strategy for you. Please understand, people are not asking or demanding for you to always create the content. Sometimes they would appreciate you doing it in partnership with others, and sometimes they would really appreciate you pointing them in the right direction of some great stuff. So before I ask for some reaction from the group, I'm going to move into video curation and explain the stages that I go through, that my customers go through, and then I'll get your reaction from that. So we're going to begin by being helpful and useful by simply spotting the good stuff, if you will. So here's an example of me spending far too much time, like many of us nowadays, on YouTube. We talked about trust a moment ago, and I came across this great interview with Joel Peterson about the 10 laws of trust. And I like the subject of trust and credibility. It's something that I really found very passionate. So, of course, many years ago, I would have watched the video, learned a few things about it, and got on with my day. And now I've really trained myself to stop and say, great video, therefore don't keep it to yourself. That would be such a shame. So this is what I do. So I watch it, make sure you do watch the content that you share. That's really important. So that's why you have to watch things that you're interested in. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I've had some customers who have shared things a bit rashly and regretted it because actually further down the video, what is being said or spoken about is not in line with their values and so on. So you'll see on the screen grab that there are a couple of options: add to and share. So I'm going to focus on share. So with share, this is what I do. I will share this video pretty much as is through my social media. For me, it's LinkedIn, Twitter primarily. And that's it. I'll say, come across this great video. This is what I talk about, and you can have it now. The next thing that I do is I go from share to save. And the way I save is there is a function on YouTube, and it may be different depending on your browser, called embed. And what I do here is I essentially prepare a future blog post on my website on the subject of trust. And when you click on the embed, some of you will know this already, you can use a code that will make this video essentially appear on your website. Now, it's not a copy. It's literally a mirror image, if you will. So there's no copyright issues there of this video where Joel Peterson, the Tendrils of Trust, is happening. And then once I've done that, as you'll see here on my WordPress website, I began to kind of do a bit of top and telling of this video. What I tend to do here with my website, I want to add value. So I might actually list it's not might actually, I have listed the 10 laws of trust. I might even timestamp the different questions from the host so that, again, there's a bit of value taken from that. And then later on, I will share this blog post through my social media networks. So, by the way, you may remember a week ago, a month ago, I shared quickly the video about Joel Peterson. I've actually now reviewed it, and I've put some additional comment. Go check out my website. That is essentially how you can start to build your business through video marketing by being a video curator. So we've done the share and save, or the share and embed. The final thing that I'm going to do, which is back to my earlier idea of being a librarian of the YouTube world, is add to. Now, when you click on add to, and this is always a little easier on the laptop than a mobile phone, you can do that on a mobile as well, is then you can add that to what's called a playlist on YouTube. Some of you will know this. Think of it as an album where you can save, literally list the videos that you've come across. You can see some of the names I've come up with, from expert interview, which is maybe where this one is going to end up living, to the best of online video marketing, the best of social media. And what I do really is, because it's part of what I do as a trainer, but also because I'm always learning and looking for new things, I began by saving it for me. And it's only a few years ago they came to me and said, well, actually, it's a bit silly. Why don't I then share what I'm saving for myself to the wider community? And the reaction has been really positive out there. So there it is. Step number one in your video marketing journey is to launch a YouTube channel to be helpful and useful, because you have curated and saved the best videos on subject matters that are of interest to your audience. So before I say any more, can I get maybe some reaction in terms of, is that something that is of interest to you as a business owner manager, using YouTube to become this kind of go-to destination for the best content that you've taken the trouble to watch and filter for your audience? Can I have a yes, a maybe, or even a no? That's absolutely fine. So Moira, absolutely right. So this would be your channel, and people will access your playlist, where essentially the copies, which is not the right way to describe them, but essentially the lists of the videos that you've come to will be accessible. So, for example, on the slide you can see here, I can actually share expert interviews as a link, a direct link, where people can watch the 5, 10, 20 videos that I may have saved, from TED Talks to Google Talks and many others. Thanks, Caroline, for the, yeah, so you've started saving the channel, but you can do the embedding process. So with regard to the trust, what I've done really, prepared behind the scenes, is actually to have more than one video. So I will have an article saying, trust is a big subject, kind of an intro, and here are 2, 3 videos that tackle trust really well. So it becomes more of a compendium, and makes it a little easy to do that. So what I tend to do is give myself then targets. So it's about new habits. So I might say to myself, you know what, Pascal, this week, why don't you become a bit more curious about a subject? And sometimes that can be a subject that will complement what you do. It doesn't have to necessarily be exactly what you do. And in that way, you are in a position to share more information on social, create some interesting articles for your SEO, but in good time, you have a YouTube channel that is very interesting, and the pressure is off for you to become a creator and feel, I get it. People said to me, but I've got a YouTube channel, Pascal, but there's only 3 videos because that's all I've had time to do, or that's all I've had, in terms of budget. And I feel a little embarrassed to point people to my channel because there's only 3 videos. I said, well, how about you supplement, the usefulness of your channel by also being a curator? So I've got Ty, I think, saying, yeah, something we do already to an extent. But yeah, so that's what I mean. So I used to begin by watching and keeping it to myself, and watching and sharing on social, but then nothing else happened. So if you start to bring this into your blogging activities, I think that could be very helpful. So asking for recommended schedule for once a day, once a week. I would say once a week. So give yourself a target, or give yourself a goal of, I'm curious about, forgive me, I'm stuck today, social media and maybe Facebook advertising. Find the one video and share that one video that week. Don't make it too, because you want to be talking about something else also. But then make sure that it's then saved into the playlist, and it's also embedded into your website, where maybe by the end of the month you find another 2 or 3, and you can do that. So once a week would be, I think, just about right. So listen, time is against us. I need to move on from curation to collaboration and contribution. But before I do so, I need to give you some homework. Oh yes, so in terms of the homework, and it's really responding to some of your reactions and Sal's reaction to the scheduling and how do I do this and so on. It takes just a bit of preparation. It's almost giving yourself a brief, give yourself a instructions about what you're going to do about it. So the way to go about this is to create 2 lists, and these need to be very, very simple. It should fit into one side of A4, scribble with a pen and paper. So list number 1, about your audience, I want you to kind of think through the kind of question they would have about either what you do, or the kind of question that is about things that supplement what you do. What do they want to achieve down the line? Just list that for yourself. What are they worried about? What would be the natural obstacles or challenges that would come with what they want to achieve in terms of aspirations? And what do they need to know regularly, or what do they need in terms of implementation of this wonderful advice? Just list that for you in plain English. It's just for you internally. And then the question you should have is, therefore, who is likely to produce video content about those questions, aspiration for the future, anxieties about the near future, and the needs? And typically you'll find that there will be some very natural go-to authorities. So in your industries, there will be some kind of federations, societies, and membership organizations that are the go-to authorities. They're likely to produce videos, and therefore you should know about that. Event organizers might even record some of the speakers and trainers. Many solution providers have done some videos about those, and of course trainers and mentors such as myself. So what you want to do is almost, think about what the video is about, and then think about those who are likely to have made those videos, and then literally go on YouTube and do some search. You can use a search function, but very often now, once you find a video, as you'll know, you have the what's called the related videos, I think, on the side of your screen. So then that leaves you to a point where, like I've done on my channel now, where you'll see on the left-hand side, I subscribed to those content creators, the authorities, the trainers, the mentors, the event organizers. You'll see some names there, such as Google Small Business, Twitter, Google Maps, but also some individuals who are great. And as you can see at the time of this screen grab, I've got a little number, 3625, and these are numbers of new videos I've not watched yet. So it gives me also a notification about things that I could curate. Now, very often I watch them and I decide that it's not right for me or not right for my audience. I'll pass. But every so often, I get, oh, that's nice. So I like the tone, I like the style, I like the length. It's short, it's long, it's medium length. Let me share that. Let me embed that, and let me add it to my playlist on YouTube so I can grow my channel. So for 2020, actually, I've redone my channel because my business has changed slightly. I'm looking at different things, and I'm looking forward to doing some curation again. So there it is, video curation, step number 1 in your journey as a video marketer. I hope that was helpful. I need to now move on into step number 2, which is video contribution. Now, video contribution, and the best way to explain that, to show you a visual, is this idea of you being a guest on someone else's video marketing platform. So earlier we're looking at curation. You are looking at the creators themselves. You are spotting the good stuff and you're sharing it, saving it, and embedding it, adding it to your playlist. What will happen when you share and of course, when you save, those video creators will get a notification. They will notice that you are essentially supporting them in their efforts. And if they've been brought up properly and well educated by their parents, some of them will get in touch with you and thank you for it. And your reaction should be very quickly, you're more than welcome. And by the way, if you are ever looking for guests to talk about your favorite subject, I'm always open to discussing that with you. So you kind of go from showing your kind of goodwill as a curator to becoming a guest and becoming a video contributor. So the story you can see here, the story you can see here is a story that I like to share very often. So the host is Petra Foster, and her guest is Colin Gray, the podcast host. Now, Colin at the time was doing very well as a podcast, using audio only to build his brand, but he knew all too well that video was also a very important part. But video was new to him at the time. And so what he did was to simply secure a spot as a guest on Petra's regular session with experts. And as you can see, Colin was asked to talk about how to use podcasting to grow your massive audience. So video contribution is a step where you're going to build your confidence and build your audience by being a guest on someone else's video marketing effort. The way to be a guest is simply to have chosen what you want to talk about. So I'm going to put you on the spot now, but I think it's going to be very helpful. If you were to be a guest for the Digital Drive series of webinars and video marketing content, true, this will happen this year, what would you like to talk about? Can you please put in a couple of the topics or kind of questions you'd love to discuss either with myself or with Kirsty or the rest of the team in future? Absolutely right. This is what we do here. So Moira, I would like to talk about helping businesses fall in love with selling. You're in. We want to talk about gardening, planting, or working with contractors. Sal, of course, marketing automation. We get that query a lot. Lean startup, the agile small business. Of course, you would understand. Working with school for Natalie. So please continue. You can all choose something and be well looked after by a host who is there to have you in conversation mode. And this is why it's an important step. Principle number 2, I know you can look back at your notes. We are at our best in conversation mode, which is why I need you to be present today. This would be so much harder for me to do just as a solo kind of recording. And this is where Colin got it right as well. He didn't launch straight into doing videos about how to do podcasting. He kind of paced himself and began his journey as a video marketer as a guest. And now he's, of course, doing his own work. So we've got Hannah encouraging people to find their voice, helping businesses understand the difference between software that they need and is most useful to them, from Curtis. Caroline preparing for 2025, the business opportunity creating by the 200th anniversary of the start of the modern railway in the northeast of England. Do you know what? Interestingly, whilst this is super precise and very niche as a subject, that in itself is more likely to get you invited than some vague notion about marketing, for argument's sake. So this is essentially what you need to prepare for, this idea of being a guest, contribute to someone else's video. You could be on your own, or as just in the screen grab preparation today, you could be part of a panel discussion, a group discussion as well. I was the case here with Leon and Joanne. But let me move into your next homework. I was kind of saying, there's too much homework. So we have the homework for being a good video curator, and you can begin now. We're going to build towards being a video contributor. As I said, many of those invitations will come from the creators who have spotted you being good enough to share their content on, but sometimes it will be people you bump into. So my recommendation will be, from now on, when you are out and about networking, meeting people, ask them about their own video marketing efforts. Are they currently thinking about it? Are they doing it? You should all I mean this sincerely, get in touch with the team at Digital Drive, our host, we are Umi, and many organizations out there. Finding guests is very difficult, let me tell you. I know, because that's what I do as part of my role. And if someone would come forward and say, I'd love to be a guest, that would save you so much time and effort as part of what I do. That would be very good. Anyway, move on to the homework. A couple of things you need to do is prepare what we call a media CV. Now, a media CV is a simple document, a simple side of A4, that's going to simply summarize what you would like to talk about and the value you want to give, how you want to be helpful as a guest. This is just a visual. You can do the format that you want, but typically on the media CV, you'll have your photography, you'll have a short biography about who you are and where you got to, but very quickly within that media CV, I need a list of the topics that you'd like to discuss with me if I were to be your host. Then secondly, a list of the questions you'd like me to ask during the recording or the session. Thirdly, I need a list of links to some of the content that perhaps you've produced yourself, even if it's just a written form as a blogger. Maybe also a list of the links where you've been a guest already. What I need to know as a host is being helpful natural to you? So are you already writing articles on your own website? Are you already running a Facebook group? Have been on a podcast already? I've been even on the newspapers with a press release. So that media CV gives me what I need. And then the fourth element would be your contact details, including social media and so on. So photography, short biography, a list of topics, a list of questions, examples of recent content efforts where you want to be seen and heard to be helpful, and then your contact details. It's not an easy one to do because it requires quite a bit of self-reflection. So my recommendation would be show your draft to somebody else and say, you know me, you know what I stand for. What do you think of this? So you might find that on occasion you've been underselling yourselves and you want to bring some of the topics and questions more to the fore. I think that'd be helpful. So once you've done that, don't keep it to yourself. Mistake number one. Make sure you publish it everywhere. So I would put a copy of the media CV on my LinkedIn profile, and I would essentially put in the biography or the descriptions that you are available as a guest for blog contributions, video, podcasts, and so on. If you feel it's appropriate, I would even put that into your website, the contact stage or the biography, in terms of meet the team, whatever. Put the details that you are available as a guest for a range of media. The final thing as part of the homework I would recommend that you do is practice introducing yourself when you are a guest. Practice the introduction. Typically what happens when you are a guest on video, podcast, or the other is the host will explain broadly what it is session is about, and then they'll say something to you like, for those of us who have not heard from you before, Kirsty, I'm addressing Kirsty across the room there, can you please let us know who you are and what you do? And then there you are. And you've got to essentially say, talk about yourself for a couple of minutes. And it's only natural that you should find that a little nerve-wracking, get a little tongue-tied. I still do. So when I'm a guest, I was a guest yesterday, I will pace the room and repeat my introduction over and over again. Hi, my name is Pascal Fintoni, and then add a few number of things. So if you can find a friend and maybe someone that is also looking to build their brand visibility and so on by being a guest, practice talking about yourself, which is very odd. Give me the 2-minute intro about who you are, what you do, and who you help. And practice over and over again so that you can get through that introduction. Because if you get through the introduction bit and you're happy with what you've said, and then it's just then answering a question from the host, you're going to be so much happier. I've been in a situation before where I felt I messed up my intro, to be honest with you, and I kept being worried about it whilst trying to be fully engaged with the session. So advice that comes from lessons learned, but also I think a very, very important one. So this will then take care of you as a video contributor. So think about what we've done so far. You've been busy being a video curator, and you have actually a very helpful, useful YouTube channel, and you're sharing that. You've now been a guest on video sessions, webinars, Q&As, whatever it might be. And therefore now, as a prospective customer, if I check you out, I will find content with your name against it. But so far, you've not had to do anything apart from being curious and curate, and then being useful by being a guest on someone else's platform. We are making good progress in terms of using video to help you market your business. Because put it this way, if I'm a prospective customer and I see you as a guest answering questions from the host, two things will come to mind. One is, well, for someone to take the trouble to invite you, it must mean that there is general value in what you have to say. But also, just watching a few minutes of this conversation, I like the way in which you're being helpful. I can see you and I can hear you being helpful. Let me check you out. Let me check your website. Let me look at your social media and so on and so forth. And in that way, we start to build both our confidence in our audience. So that's video contribution. So as we did a moment ago, it's a step up from curation. So please understand, from my perspective, curation comes first, then contribution. Is that a yes? Is that a maybe? Or is that a no as a tactic to build your brand? So I just said the mic there. Let's have a look.
She's confident in doing so, but it wouldn't be she's not the industry expert.
I understand, Sal. Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, I may have a solution for you moving forward, and that may help. So we've got a few yeses. Yes, we'll give. By the way, for those of you who have listed what you would love to talk about as a guest, you're in that. You know, there's no turning back. You will be invited as part of Digital Drive, as well as other sessions there. So yeah, it's what it takes, Dan. We'll give it a go. And let me tell you, you will be well looked after by the host, no matter who it is. It is in their interest for the conversation to go well. So, but yeah, I'll come back to you, Sal, about the way through if and when you're not the expert. Okay, so I hope you're happy with what we've done so far. We are very much in training mode. I would ask you to take action on the number of things that we've done so far. And since you've taken the trouble to be present today, do feel free to send a draft version of your media CV to myself. I will give you some feedback. That's kind of a little offer here for you taking the trouble to be live with us. So, and I would agree, Hannah, when you have something a little unique or something where there's a lot of stories to be shared, that will work well for you. Okay, it is now time, therefore, for me to share my first filmmaking technique, or let's say storytelling technique of the day. So this technique is important, particularly when you're going to be a guest. And I call this technique the George Lucas principle, because I can. That's one of the things that you can when you're hosting your own webinars. Now, a long time ago, George Lucas was interviewed and explained, obviously, his process as a creator and storyteller. And this is what he said during the interview. He said, "I do not make special effects movies. I make movies about people with special effects." So we can agree or disagree, but I thought it was a very interesting statement that he made during the interview. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to use that for my work with business owners and video marketers. And what I'm going to call this, I'm going to talk about what I call your storytelling promise. And the storytelling promise is essentially a reminder that when you're a guest, be very, very careful not to talk about yourselves and what you do. What I mean by that is when somebody listens to you as the expert, they will never be as good as you. The aspiration is not to become you. Their aspiration is to learn enough from you to make a problem or an activity a little easier or problem to go away. So what I've done over time, I created this very, very simple kind of system where I put a statement called, "I do not make fill the blank videos. I make videos about people with fill the blank challenges and questions." So therefore, a reminder is when you're a guest on a webinar or a Q&A, whatever it might be, whilst it is interesting to know about you and what you would do as an expert, the large majority of people will not achieve that level of understanding and expertise, but they love to know about people like them and what they've done about it. So if I use this mantra for my business, I would say things like, I do not make content marketing videos. I make videos about people with content marketing challenges and questions. And therefore, if I was to be interviewed by Kirsty, for example, about content marketing, This storytelling promise, using the George Lucas principle, will say to me, be careful, Pascal. Don't tell them what you do. Tell the story of a local business who has gone ahead and done things a bit different in terms of content. Talk about the small manufacturing business. Talk about the local coffee shop. Talk about the local theatre company and the challenges and questions they had about content marketing and how they addressed them. Because with respect, nobody cares so much about what Pascal did because Pascal, well, that's your day job. Of course, you're going to do things a particular way. So I hope that makes sense, but also allows me to bring a bit of filmmaking, storytelling techniques into that. If you want to write it down or memorize it, I do not make fill the blank with your expertise videos. I make videos about people with fill the blank with your expertise, challenges and questions, so that when you are interviewed, when you are a guest, it is far more interesting to hear the stories of people that I can relate to than your story, because with respect, you're the expert. I will find it harder to relate to you. And within that style, that might help you a little. So what do you guys think of the George Lucas principle? Do you like it? Not sure? Or you do not like it? And that, please feel free to be very honest. It's something that is always interesting. Do you like it? Not sure? Not for me. And then it's kind of what we do. If you like it, literally write it down as a card and have it near your computer when you're being interviewed, or have it on your fridge door, and make sure that, and after that, therefore, make sure you write down those stories. Write down the name of customers or people you bump into, because this is what you need to do. It's, as I mentioned, we know what you are, you're the expert, but actually people like me is far more interesting. Okay, let's move on to the final stage then, and that is you now creating video content. You've done the curation, you've done the contribution, you're actually doing well. Your business is getting more visibility and more credibility, but we need to start to maybe crank it up, take the initiative, and produce our own content. So we're here to build trust. We're here to be seen and heard being helpful, because we understand that in 2020 onwards, it's going to really help build our brand. How do we do that? We've built the confidence quite a bit already, and the audience when it comes to particularly video contribution. We now need to take the initiative and build our business by producing our own work. And over time, again, I must thank my customers and trainees who have challenged me and pushed me over time. I've come up with, again, 3 steps, and each step has, I would say, 3 types of videos you should be looking to record and produce for yourselves. I'll give you about 9. Again, my aspiration for you to be using mobile phone, a laptop maybe, nothing fancy. During the Q&A, I can answer questions you might have about some of the kit, but think of it as a mobile recording studio. You shouldn't have aspiration to, again, become an award-winning filmmaker or a video production company as such. There would be work for them to do, however, especially video marketing. This is at our level, if you will. So in the order in which I'm going to address them, we have 3 stages to you becoming a video creator. We'll start with short form, and therefore I'm going to call this video messaging. I'm going to be creating short, sharp messages. Likelihood is they will be shared on social media. Once you've done that and you build your confidence, we're going to move on to video meeting. And video meetings are essentially you becoming the host. You were the guest, and now you're the host. And we'll finish on video marketing. So this is where we need to start to pace ourselves and be patient with our own activities. Let me start with video messaging. So this one is the one that actually I learned through a customer of mine who was short in time and short in, I would say, even resource. All they had was a phone and just busy being on the road a lot. And we kind of said to them, well, listen, you are very busy on social media because that suits you. This is you out and about, and what you can do is take a picture and then share it on social media. And ask the question, so let me ask you, would a promotion of that image to a video file make it work harder? Instead of just taking a snapshot of the building, would a 5-10 second just pan of the building make it work harder? Not just for the algorithm, but actually for your audience. So we did the test, and it worked really well. So let me share with you how that's going to work. So to begin with, on the box, how often do you use social media? So we have pretty much people saying they too often. That was from Caroline. Every day. So you go there on social every day, adding value, taking snapshots, sharing information. Think about if every so often you would stop for a moment and go, instead of that static image on this occasion, I'm going to do a video and just kind of promote some of that content to video files, particularly if you can also capture sound to kind of create more atmosphere and so on. And this is really what this is about. So an exercise you can do, all of you, would be to go back to the last week, since you go daily, and reflect on, would next time I share this, something like this, would a video make it work harder? Principle number one. So what I can do for you today is share some ideas about how you can do that. So as you know, there's two types of files or video files you can share on social media. The number one would be you in full view, and it's not for everybody, or maybe you have a bad hair day, so you can then flip the camera and just share, what you see. But actually, that kind of works well. And I got some feedback from Sal saying that if you do it occasionally, not all the time, that works well. So let me share with you the two types or the three types of videos that I think you should share, because you are already active on social. Let's make it work harder. So my question to you is, if you are already active on social and everything else you do, what are you doing already to promote your business? How does that translate if we could make a video file of that? And I'll show you in a moment what that is. And then what are the other normal activities that would be worthy of a short video message? What I mean by short is this should be no more than 30 seconds. If you go over 30 seconds, you might be actually already into video marketing. So what are you doing already to promote your business? Can you please list the activities that come to mind in the chat box for me? What are you doing already to promote the business? And we can move on to the next questions. Are you networking? Are you actually advertising? Are you publishing press releases in the press? Have you created recently some new brochures, business cards even? So what are you doing already to promote your business? Can you write them down into the chat area, and then I'll give you some feedback on that. Thank you, Ian. So we've got recipes full of curries, networking, talking at conferences. Yeah. Training, new postcards. So you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. So if I take two examples, I've got Moira who mentioned about new postcards. So potentially back in the days, last week perhaps, you took a snapshot of those postcards and then make an announcement on social that this was coming soon. My suggestion to you is, had you done a short video, even saying, hi everyone, I'm so excited, I've got some new postcards coming out soon, I wanted to show them to you, and that would be a part of 6 to 7 seconds, and share that as a video message as opposed to a static message, I think would have had a greater impact on your activities online. Alistair, you go to conferences, so I'm sure, like me, you would take a quick snapshot of the conference venue or whichever. Would a short video with a hustle and bustle of people setting in and whatever, or quick video talking to the host to give a quick overview where this conference will be right. We've got photos of curry meals, again from Ian, with a short video message about the recipes are coming out soon, help you, and so on and so forth. So, we've got a Sal writing articles on pain point for customers. So this article is just about to be published. You're about to press the publish button. What I would do is, I'm just using it here, I would grab my phone and actually point the camera towards the screen where we can see the page where you're about to press publish. And what I would do is talk and say, hi everyone, thank you again for your support with the recent blog articles. A new one's about to go live called I hope you like it, let me know. And then that's it. You just share that on Twitter, LinkedIn, and the other things. So we've got Hannah's done some videos on Instagram, and they're going to go on. So this is where you start to retrain the mind to go, I'm already active. I'm already doing so much. Would a video make it work harder? So that's the idea behind it. Okay, so the 3 videos that are going to make a big difference in your business. Video number 1, I call this the account trailer. Now, it's not for everyone, and it's not for all platforms, but if you are very active on LinkedIn, particularly if you're very active on Twitter and very active on Facebook, what I would do is create a very short 30-second video to welcome people who are new to your account and explain what they can expect from joining, liking, following, and so on. It's a very simple thing to do. You don't have to even be on camera necessarily, although that can be helpful. But in 30 seconds, why should I connect with you on LinkedIn? Why should I follow you on Facebook? Why should I connect with you on Twitter? You probably know what that is. And in 30 seconds, you can express an enormous amount. So 30 seconds, short welcome message. And for some of us, we can even pin that on the platform. The next one is the content teaser, and that's the one we just described a moment ago. This idea of, being already busy doing content, and you give people a quick overview. And then, of course, we have politely to make sure that we say always thank you. So something that I do with my customers actually quite regularly, this idea of if somebody shares, if somebody actually comments, if somebody actually provides value, why don't you send a thank you message directly to them? If it's appropriate, it could be a thank you message that kind of works well with you in terms of making it public, but sometimes it can just be the thank you directly. And what we're doing here is building the audience a little bit surely. So they're getting used to seeing 10-second messages, 20-second messages on social and other platforms. And that's essentially the precursor to doing long form content. So as we've done so far, what is your reaction to 2 things? Upgrading some of your static images to moving images, and this idea of 3 types of video messages, primarily on social, the account trailer, welcome them, the content teaser, and finally, always remember to say thank you where it's appropriate. Do we have a yes, do we have a maybe, or do we have a no? Okay, thanks very much for the feedback. That's what it's all about. Here I'm sharing systems and ideas, but for you to then grow them and develop them in something unique to your business and to your audience. Thanks for the feedback on the account trailer idea. To be honest with you, Ian, the account trailer is simply a mini version of the YouTube channel trailer. Some of you who have a YouTube channel, again, you can actually have one which is pinned almost at the top, which is the one that people watch every time they become a new visitor. So are all 3 videos around 30 seconds? Yes, they are, Imran. Otherwise, they're no longer messages, they become more long-form content. Let's move on to a list of things that I've seen people do that will qualify as content messages and potentially content teaser. A lot of those would be very obvious to you, but I thought it'd be helpful to see them listed as we move forward. So we spoke about the new blog post. So whenever you do something new that has a marketing quality to it, tell people that share a video. What about when you're on location, as we mentioned a moment ago? Perhaps you are about to be interviewed or will be interviewed, or you're going to be the one to interview. Want to do a short message to let people know that it's happening soon and you're very excited. So if you're a guest, for example, and very often your host will promote it in advance through maybe a web page, maybe an advert or a post on Twitter. What I would do is actually bring this advert or kind of alert in full screen. I will grab my phone again. I don't have to even be in full view and say, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be talking to name of the host next week. And if you can, please join us live. If not, watch the replay. And all you're doing is filming the screen of the website or the Twitter account where your name, your image, and so on is being featured. That's very, very powerful. Perhaps, again, you receive an invitation to an event. If it's printed, textual video. If it's online again, you can do that. So again, I'm just going to kind of put them on screen for you. These are things that I've seen people do where they just give you a quick overview of something which is more longer form. So the example, for example, of the product demo, you may have products on your website that people can view in full. And in the purpose of teasing and creating a bit of intrigue, you might just give people a short 30-second demo of a facet of the product. But to see all the other features, then you have to go online. You may have a free downloads. Actually, let me ask you a question. Who in this room today, virtual room, who has free downloads available on their website? And if you do, let us know what they are. That would be very interesting. So let me know, do you have a free downloads? And if so, what is it? Okay. Thanks, Sal. So you have one, that would be forthcoming. Thank you very much. I think Alistair, yeah, I would imagine you have all that. So yeah, PDFs on the website for, what was that, for Natalie. Thank you very much. Martin has got, something about Google My Business. Make sure that some of you, if you're interested, you should get in touch. Yeah. So Imran, again, you can do some teaser about how to go about creating that virtual desktop environment, and then you can go on the website. So if I take the example of who had the PDFs, naturally you had PDFs on your website. So what I would do from time to time is literally bring the web page where the PDFs are available, grab the phone, I kid you not, and then just talk me through again the PDFs and the great content, and then share that and see what you get as reaction. But here's the thing, for me, as a kind of bystander, if you take the trouble to record a video message, it suggests to me that it's important to you, but it suggests to me that there is quality and value behind it. Remember that when it comes to marketing, it is about standing out from the crowd and the white noise. So how many people have you seen online, particularly on social, pushing their free stuff, their free PDF, their free downloads and so on? And in a way, for many of us, I find sometimes the result to be quite disappointing. So I'm not prepared to do the downloads or share my contact details. Maybe a short video message, 30 seconds, give me a quick overview of the PDF, then that might, again, make it work harder for you. PDF price list, talk me through it. Or let me know that there is a great price list available on your website. Give me a quick overview of what it looks like, that it's comprehensive, clear, easy to follow, and then share the link to where I can access it. So I hope that's helpful anyway in terms of video messaging. Let's talk about, we should by now talk about what can make life a little easier as creating those messages. My preference to avoid doing any form of editing. That's really quite important. But from time to time, we want to maybe give it that little finish. So on screen, you have an app called Quick. And this is a free app that can allow you to do some short and soft editing of your messages by maybe adding some text, maybe adding some music and so on and so forth. Those of you who came on the video marketing masterclass, you know that we practice it for ourselves. So what you can do for the purpose of learning is literally have a play. And if you don't like it, just delete it from your phone, move on to something else. So if you're an Android or iPhone user, Quick is a little addition to your toolkit. If you are an iPhone user, and that's only for the iPhone, very envious because I am an Android user, you have something called Clips. Again, a free mobile phone app that can allow you to record the short message, but then add some text, some music. The reason why I'm very envious is that this one will also add captioning of your voice. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're using your phone, and you can be in view, or you can flip it and maybe show perhaps the website or a venue. And if you're talking, you can go back to the file and then have your voice caption. So have the subtitles, and you can correct and edit that if the captioning has not worked well, if you have a strong accent like me. Although the phone will learn your accent, which is always kind of doing that. Other things you can do. So sometimes the message, there is nothing really that you can record, but there's still a message you want to share. So there are some lovely platforms out there that give you access to some kind of pre-designed animations or video clips, and you can use that. So this one's called wave.video. They have different pricing structures from free trials all the way to a few pounds a month. And again, if maybe the message you want to share, there's nothing you can physically record yourself, but you can maybe use a template and animation. So wave.video is a fun one to try out, and they have all sorts in there for different sizes. So here you can see you can go square, horizontal, or even portrait. And it's an interesting one to explore. A close cousin to wave.video is Byteable, so byte and then able. Again, they give you access to animation, scenes, video clips that you can then kind of change in terms of text and put your brand and so on and so forth. Again, they've got a free trial, and they also ask you for a few pounds a month as part of the membership. And that can be something worth considering from time to time for you to do so. As you can see there on the screen grab, they give you access to, I call them scenes, and then you can edit and change them to suit, obviously, what you want to share. If you have more, if you want to do more editing, and you should not really for video messages, but some of us sometimes want to push the complexity or want to do more, putting several things together. You can try this one. So it's called Vlog It, from a company called Filmora, so Vlog It, and you can just be more editing than the others. And perhaps that's more, we're stepping into maybe more video marketing, but I think it would be worth mentioning. If you really want to, if you are already actually quite adept at video editing and filmmaking, I think KineMaster and probably Filmic Pro as well would be something that you want to look into. But then we are starting to step into that real kind of video production side of things, and we're stepping away from video marketing potentially. But I thought in view of spending some time together, it would be worth mentioning. So KineMaster or Filmic Pro would be things worth looking into. Ideally, just film a short message and share it. That would be my preference in terms of what we have to do. But if not, you can try all the others as well. So here's some examples of video messages. So this is me actually receiving a newsletter. And I thought, you know what I could do is quickly record myself on my phone, watch, going through this newsletter. And I thought that would be a wonderful content teaser. That would be a great video message to say to somebody, hey everyone, my newsletter, my webpage, whatever it might be, is now been released. Go check out message. And I use something called AZ screen recorder for this one. You can see I left it on screen there. So for example, if you are doing email marketing, if you are a regular blogger, what kind of things, why don't you visit your own website or look at your own kind of email marketing efforts, and record yourselves going through, and then that's your video file. And then share that on social and say, hey everyone, the new blog post, the new article, the new newsletters come out, but they'll be able to see it. And that, I think, will make your message work harder. The next example is something that some of you may have seen me do. So it's this idea of video. Principle number one, video will make what you do already work harder. And what I do already is I read a lot of articles. I keep myself informed the best I can. And at first, I was read the article and almost keep it in memory. Then I was read the article and then save it on the platform called Flipboard. And then it occurred to me, that's silly. Maybe I can do a short video of the best articles, in my view, that I come across and share that with you. So I'm not going to show you the whole video. It's about a minute long. But what I do now is every Friday, I must remember to do it today, I share the articles that I've read in video form. And this is what you'll see coming next. Well, you get the gist of it, and that's published on social, then uploaded on YouTube. And funny enough, because I read so much, sometimes I even forget what I've read. So I sometimes watch the video myself to remind me of the articles. But it's that simple. It's a video message. I'm already doing something. I want video to make it work harder for you. So that's kind of step one, video messages. I'm just seeing some questions. So from Hannah, could you do that as a preview of a new website launch? Absolutely. So to begin with, just do some videos of the different part of the website, and maybe once a day reveal the website, 30 seconds at a time, about from the homepage to the contact us. Could you do video showing how to book time in with me? Yes, you could. So what I would do here, Moira, is I'm assuming that there's maybe a link to a scheduler or an appointment making platform, whether it's your own website or something online. I would simply do a short video message about the fact that you are using this scheduler and how easy it is to make an appointment with you, and then release that. So that's social messages. If it was to be something that is actually on the website as part of your overall book, some time with me, I might say we're stepping into video marketing, and it may need to be a bit longer, so that you can actually be on screen and explain the values of booking you, what they're going to get from the appointment, and how to make the appointment. And that's what we're going to move on to. Can you link hashtag to videos? You can definitely put a hashtag to the post where the video is. So think about, video is not nothing more than media. It could be a photography and so on. So I tend to, I'm not the best remembering that, but I tend to put the hashtag as part of the copy that I put in addition to the video as well. Okay, so from video messaging, which can be already, putting a lot of power into you, move into video meeting. Because video meeting is essentially you being the host, you were a guest on video contribution, you're now a host on video meeting. I'm not going to spend too long talking about it, but I'm just going to give you some techniques, essentially, in terms of structuring your thinking. So video meeting, being the second stage of 3 of video creation, is pretty much this idea of using principle number 2, whereby you're at your best in conversation mode. So that's why I call it video meeting. It's not a monologue. It's not you giving advice on your own. It is very much you being in conversation with somebody else. And there are really 3 formats to your video meeting for you to choose from. I'll give you some example in a moment. I'm trying to share the names now. So number 1 is what I call the expert Q&A, where you will invite somebody to share their expertise so that it creates value and is being helpful to your audience. So I think it was Sal earlier who said, how do you make that work when you're the expert? Well, don't just be the host, but be good at asking questions and getting some advice and expertise from your guest. That's version 1 of video meeting. Version 2 is to actually almost do a recap on the latest news, what I call the news roundup. Again, you don't have to be the one keeping up with the news. Guess what? Your guest will do that for you. As part of Digital Drive, we actually have a regular social media news roundup where we invite people who are very active in the world of social media, and they keep us and keep me up to date. And of course, we present that information back to you. The third and final kind of video meeting would be to have a guest who can talk about solutions. I call this the solutions tracker. It doesn't have to be necessarily something like a digital physical. It could be a solution in terms of a new process or a new system, a new management technique maybe. But these are the 3 different ways in which you can host a video meeting. By all means, you can do all 3 if time allows, or you can choose the one that suits you best. So example would include expert Q&As. Again, they can be done virtually, as I am today, or you can be in the same room. And the quality of phones nowadays means that you can record on an iPhone a chat between you and another. This was just a screen grab of what happened at a recent summit I went to. You can then do the roundup. So with the roundup, you can have more than just you and the guest. You can have a panel discussion. And this was taken from last year's review of the Facebook conference. And then finally, what I like to do, if I do the solutions tracker, I will ask my guests to do some demos, because particularly in my world of digital, use may be very different, but if someone's talking about software solutions, so on and so forth, then I like to do some screen sharing and they can do some demonstration. I realized that I keep meaning to change this back to English. Apologies. I realized that this is the French version of the screen grab, but this is, as we spotted a moment ago, a truly international session, because we have people who also are involved, and also Francophiles. But these are the three versions. They, with a laptop or a mobile phone, you can do those, whether in the same room or separate. And now, if you are not in the same room, you'll need to use some software solutions. So, as you know, we are using Zoom for the webinar, and that's something that, of course, I recommend you consider as an option for video meetings. But here's an example of, and in fact, you can see Kirsty in the middle. So even though she wanted to hide away from the webcam, she's here with you. So the team at UMI talking to Natalie Emily, I think she was your guest, wasn't she? Talking about social media. So that's being in the same room, or you can be remote. So this is Ian Anderson Gray using Skype, in fact, and going live on YouTube and Facebook, talking to his guest here. So it kind of, will be what is right at the time. What is nice about video meeting, it's long form, which means that two things, it would impress your audience, but also you can then use extract. So if you have a conversation for an hour, for 45 minutes, that gives you between 10 to 12 different extracts that you can then share on social media. Long form can then be repurposed as a podcast, and also can be repurposed as a blog series. So there's a lot of value into that. But you're the host. Your job is to get the guest to speak to you and share their expertise, their updates, and so on and so forth. So in terms of tools, there are plenty out there, and this is just a small selection of what's available to you. You've got Pamela for Skype. I've not used Skype for a while, but it's come back, and I think I should look into that again. I'm told that Skype natively as well can record the video conversation between you and somebody else who is not in the same location. Do we have any Mac users in the room today? So if you are a Mac or iOS system user, you have a company called Ecamm. We have a yes with exclamation mark from Hannah, big fan. So Ecamm have something called Call Recorder for Skype, and it will allow you to record the videos and have that split screen style that you've seen time and time again online, no doubt. We use Zoom, as you know, so Zoom meetings certainly worthy of your consideration, in addition to many others. And on the subject of live video, particularly in which people tend to spend a lot of time on social, if you're curious about live video on social, I would recommend that you look into something called Be Live. Be as in the verb be, and then live, Be Live. It's definitely worth having a trial again as part of the free trial. And if you're, again, a Mac user, they have Ecamm Live as well, which allow you to have guests on Skype, but then you're being live streaming on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn very soon as well. So again, video meeting is taking place. It's your decision how you go about it. And finally, because actually one of my guests recently was a big fan, I'm still to try it out, but I thought it'd be worthy of mentioning StreamYard as part of the solution to have a meeting, but then have that streamed into social as well. So suppose the question before we move on to video marketing about being the host of video meeting would be, who could I interview? That's fair questions. And why would I invite them in the first place, particularly if you want to take the initiative? I have tried OBS Alistair, and it's really we're moving to video production territory, not video marketing, which is why I've not mentioned it. So in terms of who could I interview, I always look for people who could supplement what I do as a day job. So if you think about it, I would specialize in digital marketing. Therefore, I'm going to look at, are there facets of digital marketing that I don't cover or simply I'm not passionate about? So there are a couple. One is advertising, just doesn't do it for me. So I would have guests to talk about that. And secondly, I don't do web design, as in I'm not going to be a designer. So I would have guests talk about the other. But then there's all the other discipline that will supplement what I do. sales, HR, cybersecurity, online payment systems, all those wonderful things that you need to know as an audience. I will be seeking out, those guests for me. So that's kind of question number one. So part of your reflection today and part of your work moving forward is bear in mind what you do and your specialism. Are there facets of that area of expertise that you don't cover, that you could therefore get some guests? And bear in mind your expertise. Are there some supplementary, complementary disciplines that would make complete sense for you to cover in a video meeting format? So that's question number one. Question number two, why would you invite them? And the reason why you want to invite them is that something has happened that brings this subject matter to your attention or has made the headlines. And that allows me to kind of bring into this delivery the second storytelling technique, which I've called the Kate Lee's principles. Now, Kate Lee is a filmmaker, screenwriter, and a mentor, and someone that I met many years ago, and she had such a positive impact on my own kind of understanding of storytelling and filmmaking that I thought it was only fair that she be presented to you. And she, she's done an enormous amount of work on films that you all know as well. But she came up with this principle that the one reason why a story is interesting is because the protagonists, the heroes, even the villains, are reacting to a sudden change. And she called this essentially the fact that there's only one story that truly engaged, and the story is a stranger came into town or a stranger rides into town. So when you invite a guest, whether it's for your expert Q&A or it's for your news roundup or it's for your solutions tracker, the reason you want to invite that guest, you want to give them a context, almost a platform, is that something has changed that is probably having a positive or negative impact on your customers and your wider community. And you're just wondering how to tackle it. And you have invited somebody to kind of talk it through with you, through your questioning. A stranger came to town. So something's happening in the world of business, in the world of your customers, positive and or negative, and you want to explore that. That something may well be that your guest just recently released a great article. Maybe recently your guest actually released a book. Or it may be that the industry you represent in general is going through a big change, or there's been a change in government policy, and so on and so forth. I have to tell you that because of my world of digital, the strangers coming into town is happening all the time, from changes around data privacy to changing in the feature and function of Facebook and so on. That is happening all the time. So this is video meeting for you. This idea of you're the host, you are pretty much controlling the pace and the style and the naming of your series, but you're here to look after your host. And there are three styles: the expert Q&A, the news roundup, and the solutions tracker. How do you feel about this? Quick question. I'm not expecting to do this next week or next month. The time will be right for you, but video meeting, building actually video content where you are at your best in conversation mode, but actually using the expertise and knowledge of others to kind of gain traction and of course get the exposure. Because what is nice about being a host is when you publish the video on your website, on YouTube and so on, and you let your guests know that has happened, the guests themselves will then share it onto their network, therefore building your visibility. Let me know your reaction to a video meeting. It's absolutely fine, Sam, to be anxious. And the good thing is, the way to deal with that is to begin by being a guest. So that's why it's coming much, much later. You'll begin by being a contributor to someone else's video efforts. You'll be the guest, and you'll see how they do things. You understand, how they structure the sessions, how it gets recorded, how it gets published, how it gets shared on social media. So you're going to learn tons from them, and then you'll be able to then be promoted to being the host. Yes, Natalie, that's very true. You might have to be the very first one to be there to confirm, but be careful. If you are on your own, this is not a video meeting. We're talking about video marketing. So don't confuse, the idea behind it. You could be using the same tools, but unless you're in conversation with somebody else, we're talking about something completely different. Yeah. Thanks, Ty, for the feedback. Thanks, Moira. Yeah. You've been wanting to do that for a while. Yeah, the tech side, it can be a pain. So choose the simplest thing that works for you. And my recommendation is begin by being a guest, as I mentioned a moment ago. That will clarify so much for you, because you can, if you're a guest and before they start to record, you can ask them questions. So can I ask, how do you do it, and how do you record it, and how do you do this? And then you're going to learn so much from that. Well, and you have to try, to be in a video to talk about nothing but small pipes and a short demo. And they have ignored me. Try again. Try a different person. And bear in mind that they may be a little nervous, so then maybe you should try maybe a phone call to begin with. Okay, right. Time is against us. I need to move on to the final element of your journey as a video marketer, which is video marketing. So let's recap. You've started with video curation and are already being useful and helpful by building this amazing library of video content on YouTube. But that's somebody else's content, granted. We then move into video contributions. So you're going to be a guest. So your name and your expertise and your brand will be featured via video content on the internet. Oh, by the way, I never mentioned that, but of course, when you are a guest on someone else's video, add that video to your YouTube account. Makes sense to me, in a separate playlist. And then once the video has done maybe the rounds, and you can start to embed that into your own website. So long as you always credit the host and the organizers, they'd be more than happy to get more eyes and ears on the content. Then we move into video marketing. 3 stages: video messages, short, sharp messages, building what you do already on social primarily. Then we're going to be doing video meeting. We're going to be in conversation with people that we know already, that we trust. We're going to listen to their expertise, and we're going to learn so much in the process. And then we're ready to move into video marketing. And video marketing is when you are on your own and you are essentially, for one, the description, talking to yourself, looking into the land, which is not easy, which is why there's a journey. Some of us can jump straight into video marketing, and that's fine. But actually, you might find that you've done so by not building an audience. So therefore, you have to go back and trace your steps into video curation and video contribution. So they are, of course, there are 3 stages to video marketing. And it's not because I'm a big fan of the rule of 3s, but it so happens that that's the case. So what we're going to do is go into 3rd principle, which is to always go for the simplest video and the most useful content. So there are 3 videos that would belong to the world of video marketing. And if you think that video messages will typically be on social media, that video meetings will typically be part of your blog and YouTube activities, I'm going to say that video marketing is squarely about video on your website. So the first video that should be on your website is what I call simply the welcome video. This will be on the homepage. This will be a video that would be no more than 90 seconds. I think 90 seconds is probably the longest. So where possible, you want to keep it much shorter. This video can and is often produced in collaboration with professionals, but certainly nowadays you can do a lot yourself with your mobile phones in particular, and some of the editing software that we mentioned a moment ago. But the role of the welcome video is to give people a quick overview of your services and what you do, but very quickly, within the time that you've got, move into what people can expect from their website visit. It's a welcome video. It's not a sales video. It's not a promo video. That you can do those, but I find that if you want to really play to trust and to be seen and heard being helpful, the welcome video needs to be actually about the website and welcoming a visitor to the website. So spend, let's say, maximum 30 seconds to talk about who you are, who you help, and what you do, but very quickly sell me the website visit, not the business. I know it's a little weird, But we are in 2020, and you've got to start to play the game a little differently to stand out from the crowd. So I'll stop here for a moment and ask your reaction. This idea of a welcome video, which is doing just enough to give me information about the business, but very quickly, the idea is, but if I watch the video, I'm going to get excited about visiting the website because I get a sense of the value content you pull together from, indeed, the sales pages all the way to the blog and the free download some of you mentioned and so on. So it's almost like a tour of the website with an intro about the business. What do you think? Is that a yes, is that a maybe, or is that a no? So very quickly, Moira, in terms of embedding the video to the website, the homepage, I would keep it simple. Put that video on your YouTube account as part of a playlist, and then from YouTube, copy and paste the embed code to go onto your website. That would be the simplest thing to go about it. And I would not use pop-ups. They get sometimes blocked by browsers, but I think just it's not pleasant as a visitor. I'm sure you would agree. Okay, yeah, so have a think about this. The second video, and this is the one I'm going to spend a bit of time on today to close, is what I call the Q&A video. It's very similar to the expert Q&A. The difference is you are on your own. And that's what we're going to look at in a moment. And this one is likely, and I would imagine you'll do more than one to kind of show your expertise and to be seen and heard being helpful. So I think the Q&A video is likely to be as part of your blog, potentially. And then the final video is the thank you video. So if you think about it, they arrive on the homepage and there's a welcome. They then explore the content and maybe use some of the Q&A videos. And then they probably have gone to potentially the contact us page or a landing page where they have to do something, maybe subscribe, maybe make an appointment with you so a moment to go. Indeed, maybe to download some important PDFs and the likes. And what we know is that wherever someone has to do something, the dropout rate is quite high on website because of the times we live in and, of course, because of disappointment. So what we do with the thank you video is to position it where it matters most. Contact us, download this, book an appointment, subscribe to a course, whatever it might be. And this one is about 30 seconds. And what we're going to say in 30 seconds is quite simply to thank them for their visit and explain what to do next and what happens when they do. So if I take the view of the contact us page, I would have a short video that thanks them for visiting the site, asks them to complete the inquiry form, and say to them that we're going to be back in touch personally within 24 hours. And then that would be that. If it's a download, we can explain about the download. If it is about registering for a course, we can explain about that. And we've seen great results doing that with customers. Again, if you don't feel like being on camera, that could be done more with text, images, and music. But think of it as this idea of, wow, they have thought of me as a visitor. This website is really there to look after me from the welcome to the goodbye, if you will. I'm just quickly looking at the question, Kirsty. I would not have autoplay ever. Is that clear? Sorry, it's a bit blunt, isn't it? And that's not, that was a bit blunt. That's not a personal preference. Is the feedback from visitors is that they don't like it. As simple as that. I would prefer someone to know, oh, there's a video, but you know what? I'm happy to go with my website and visit. Actually, there's a video, let me play it for me. So I would avoid autoplay where possible. It just feels, and I may be obviously coming across, sharing personal views, but it comes across a bit too needy. And I think that's not what website visit should be about. Okay, so because time is against us, I'm going to focus primarily on the Q&A video. And the whole point of getting this right, when now you are on your own, is to make sure that you've learned from what you've done so far in terms of video curation, contribution, and messaging, whatever. So you need to make sure that you respect the structure of that video, learning from the other principles, such as the George Lucas principles and the Kay Lee's principle, but also that it's always about story. So I'm just kind of saying to you that you could have the mobile phone in front of you, you could be using a laptop, you may have access to cameras, but what you want to do is make sure that you are in a position where it's filmed well, but you don't forget that the number one way to engage somebody is to be seen and heard being helpful. And you have a structure in terms of what you do, and you always bring a bit of a story about it. There's many ways in which I could have tackled that, but I thought the easiest would be to show you a video. I'm hopeful that the sound will play well through, obviously, the webinar platform. This is a very short video on purpose, but the structure is right, and the story element is exactly the way I would see it as well. The subject matter is not particularly interesting, I think, but it's because it was a short video that I wanted to share with you. So what you're going to see on that video is a expert from Google addressing you. And what I want to do is show you the video, and then I'm going to break it down for you in terms of the structure and explain to you why it's a good example for you to follow in future when you are ready to do your own Q&A videos. So let's move on with video play. Fingers crossed it's going to work.
Today's question comes from Colchester in the United Kingdom. I hope I'm saying that right. The question is from Blue Bumblebee, who asks, "Hi Matt, does the big G have a version of the search engine that totally excludes any backlink relevance? I'm wondering what search would look like, and I'm curious to try it out." So we don't have a version like that that is exposed to the public, but we have run experiments like that internally, and the quality looks much, much worse. It turns out backlinks, even though there's some noise and certainly a lot of spam, for the most part, are still a really, really big win in terms of quality for search results. So we've played around with the idea of turning off backlink relevance, and at least for now, backlink relevance still really helps in terms of making sure that we return the best, most relevant, most topical set of search results.
Okay, so I did warn you it wasn't particularly interesting, but the structure and the story was fine. So fingers crossed you could hear the message, although as you had someone just talking to you silently, moving their hands around. But the reason why I chose it is A, because it's short and we don't have to spend too much time looking at it, but also because truthfully the structure and the story is very important. So first thing is, the reason why this was a good example is it was done in a way that is not clinical. So actually, the way in which I'm being filmed today for the purpose of training is about right, which is I've got a very bland background, nothing to distract you because I want you to focus on the slides and delivery and so on. But when you do a video Q&A, don't go for what's been called the Apple look. Bring people into your world, give them access to your own little kind of behind the scenes shots. So I like the way that it was done seemingly in a real kind of office environment. We even had a couple of people walking by. It wasn't obviously too distracting. So what I would do is find ways to actually invite your audience into your world. The good thing about mobile phones, you could have a really messy office or a warehouse, but actually if you point in the right way and keep everything kind of reasonably tidy behind you, then you can do that. In fact, I know a lot of people who use live video in the corner of the house, and it looks super kind of clean and tidy, but in fact, everything else around them is not working. So bring them into your environment. Secondly, that's so important. Show them that you are answering a real question from a real person. And that's when story comes into it. Remember when I said, you are not here to make videos about your favorite subject, you're making videos about people with challenges and questions. And if you are seen to be answering a real question from real people, it's going to be so much more engaging. In addition to which, by using some very simple editing, you can put the question on screen, as you saw a moment ago. And that transforms the whole experience for the viewer. But you also will be better on camera because it's going to be real. Now, people said to me, nobody asked me any questions and so on and so forth. I said, well, you could be wrong. Think about when you're networking. Think about people asking you questions on Twitter. Think about maybe when you've been a guest. Or today, all of you asked me questions, and Kirsty is making note of them. It may well be that we decide in future to go back to those questions, and like I might say, today's question is da-da-da-da, and I may obviously refer to some of you. So again, to be seen and being helpful, answering real questions from real people. Thirdly, in terms of structure, is get to the point and answer the question directly. It is our tendency for a lot of us to be very generous with our time and expertise, and we will want to expand or add to, to the delivery. That's for another question. So you're better off answering one question and sticking to that, and then answer another one and another one, so that your library of Q&As becomes much richer. That would be my idea. And I think this video was under the minutes, which is great. You can do that, or you can do several minutes, but this is where they are very different. Having answered the question, a real one from a real person, very important, give them something to do. And typically what you would do here is give them access to the other Q&As or the other resource on that very subject. It's very tempting, and I get it, to do this video and at the end have a bit of a sales push or kind of things, but in fairness to your viewer, they were interested in getting some of their questions answered, and they are interested in seeing you and hearing you being helpful. Give them more of that. So as you can see here for the the link, it's a link to more free resources, not a link to Google AdWords or to some chargeable service. They take the view that the audience, when ready, will think of them when it's time to make a purchase. So that's what I wanted to do, is spend just enough time on perhaps maybe the most important video marketing asset, which is you answering questions, but do it in a way that builds on what we've done together: video curation, contribution, and creation, and build on this idea of the George Lucas principle and the Kate Lee's principle. Video marketing. Wow, we've covered an enormous amount of grounds here. So let me begin by thanking you, the audience, for sticking around and really being a great participant, asking questions, because I think that was really helpful for me as well, to give you a value. This will be available to you as replay. What we've done here in the space of 2 hours is condensed the better part of 2.5 days of learning by stripping out, the non-essentials from the point of view of the key messages. This won't be enough. What you have to do now is take action. So you know what to do. You have the systems. You have the full support of the Digital Drive Durham team. More importantly, for those of you who are interested, please let us know if you'd love to be a guest on sessions such as the expert Q&As, the news roundup, and solutions tracker, as a learning point for you, but also for creating content that can then be shared to the wider community. So for me, and on behalf of the Digital Drive team, I'd like to say a big thank you. We're going to close the recording. I'm going to stay on for the open Q&A. Can I thank Kirsty, who's worked very hard behind the scenes for the last few days to make it happen. Big thank you as well to Paul and so on and so forth, and Amanda. And more importantly, a big thank you to the community to make this so enjoyable. So I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll stick around for I'll do the Q&A. Thank you very much.